So, yes,
Um,
hello
and uh,
everyone, and welcome to Town Hall number 22. We are 22 town halls into this right now. It's been quite a great season of different town halls covering different subjects. And yeah, so in today's town hall, we're going to be getting into closing out on January. This is super, super important, especially as we're heading to TGE. So, yes, make sure to ask your questions in the chat. As always, the chat box is open. We will be watching your questions. We will make sure to get to everyone's questions at the end of the session. This session will also be recorded. So if you guys do happen to miss today's session, you can always catch the recording. And we also have updated summaries on the Gitbook as well. So you can always check this out on the recording or go through the notes on the Gitbook and get going from there. So today's town hall is going to be Karam. Karam is going to be wrapping up on January, what that means, why this is important. So let's get straight into it. Yes, Keenan, my doorbell is going off. I have no idea who's at my door. They will wait for me to go to the door. But I'm going to hand it off to Karam to close up on January. We have some fun stuff to talk about at the end. I'll see you guys in a minute.
yeah, but you gotta come back and tell us who's at the door. All right, knock knock. Who's there? TG. All right, let's do this, everybody. Okay, so this is just the wrap up for Onchainuary, which has dragged into February. But the good part is we're pretty much done with this. We've got our online structure, on-chain structure in place. It's got to be hydrated with a little bit of data that you will see happening fairly soon. Uh, so just to recap, like why we're talking about this and the order of things that we did it. The original idea was we were going to launch the token first and then bring everything on chain. And since we moved the token launch to Q1 this year, we're very much on still doing that. Since we had the time, we decided to put everything on chain and then the token comes. This is actually something now, having gone through this integration process and we're almost at the end of it. It was something that I actually think we should have done a while ago during development. Oh, and I swiped back to my screen. I wanted to say this while Don was gone because he'd be like, "Oh, I told you so." Like he was like a year ago. Why isn't everything on chain already? And we should have done that, but now we have it, so that's what matters. The philosophy of it is really the most simple structure possible that provides the highest amount of transparency. And because a lot of this stuff is immutable and a pain to change once you put structures in place, you also want as simple an architecture that is also extensible as possible. And I think we've achieved that. So why put everything on chain? Really, this brings a radical level of transparency to both the network, the economics, and everything. This is the way that community led telcos should be, as transparent as this. And I think in the long run, as a project that is looking to attract people to participate and various stakeholders who need to get rewarded, that transparency will become a competitive advantage over time because it's almost impossible for an existing large telco or anyone to suddenly become transparent, right? That's not going to happen. There are too many skeletons in their closets as well. So yeah, the idea is everything will be very shortly verifiable. It'll be immutable. If any changes are done, you'll be able to track and trace those changes. And it will be permissionless. Anyone can view, audit the network. You guys know this stuff. So basically, this is a slightly blended mix of slightly technical, but also fairly straightforward. Uh, so the simple way to think about it is really Solana is this virtual machine which can run programs. You have 5 programs that sort of cover everything that's needed in order to uh, store, display, and have logic in the network that's visible and accessible to everybody. So To represent sort of key stakeholders and objects on the network, we have three NFT types. One is the hotspot owner, which is a lot of you that are here. The second is the device itself that is being deployed, that specific um, piece of hardware, and the partner that's managing it, which is the real world sort of entity. If you think about it, these are really the three key entities that matter the most. I'll get into why device is separate from hotspot owner. Why isn't it like just a hotspot and one of the properties of that NFT could be the physical attributes of the device. There's a good reason to have that split, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. The second program that we have is bandwidth, super straightforward. Every single hotspot, its consumption for the day in the most technically efficient manner to put things on chain, which is a Merkle tree, which we'll dive into a little bit of details later, is how bandwidth is stored. We have three contracts. The token mint contract. So this is the one that actually creates the Dabba token and handles the main distribution. This, of course, needs to be transparent, obvious, and accessible, and we'll walk through that. The staking contract as well. Of course, we are going to have staking. You will see that on the thing it says DBT staking within 6 months and 1 year lock periods. Those are just tentative placeholders at the moment. We will be having a more detailed thing with this along with the tokenomics, and those specific items will be finalized then. If you have ideas of what ranges and timelines for staking should be, given I'm sure all of your collective's experience with tons of protocol and tons of staking, happy to hear that as well. And there's a really basic contract, which is sort of like a lookup table, which is the wallet registry. It basically has the extra reference values for each one of these other entities and contracts on the network. So that's basically it. It's just 5 structures. Okay. I'm swiping back to my screen to see if anyone's fallen asleep or not. Okay, no. Let's continue. I'm enjoying this though. Okay, so 3 NFT types, each stakeholder in the network, the 3 key ones, and we'll add more, right? You've got your hardware and the rest of that, but these are the people that really matter at this stage. So the hotspot owner NFT, it's built on the Metaplex core. These are, standard templates to kick off things that everyone has battle tested over time. It's got on-chain attributes like the name of the hotspot, its status. It has the ability to be stakeable because the hotspot NFT has to be staked to a device NFT, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And every single NFT also has a PDA, which tracks the registry index. So it's a really efficient way to basically say, hey, for this hotspot, for all the extra data, more exhaustive data that we want to connect to this thing, go check the registry because it's just more efficient to do it that way. And this hotspot owner NFT is burnable under very specific circumstances. The second one is also a nice and compressed C NFT because we're going to have millions of devices basically. It's one of the core fabrics that will contain the metadata that links the hotspot owner and on the other side, the partner/LCO NFT and who the bandwidth provider is and a bit about the hardware. Like this is the core metrics, right, that represent what this thing is and connects to the other key stakeholders as well. The same thing, of course, will have a PDA, which will contain info about invoice data, location, other metrics as well. And it'll contain the link to the Merkle tree proof, which allows you to verify the actual on-chain data consumption for this particular device. Right. Last NFT. So that's the partner LCO one. It's also a compressed NFT. It basically contains all of the major real world verifiable data of this particular partner. So they're registered GST, which is like goods and sales tax info. So you know that they're registered with the government and they've got the proper paperwork in place. And the major metrics that are queryable for on-chain analysis, like network size, the how many people working there, lat long of headquarters, things against that. And of course, this links to the LCO registry because everything does. Now, one of the funny things that I want to, not funny things, very cool things that I want to point out here, although I've glossed over this really quickly, is like the device NFT is going to contain and going to contain, we demonstrated also, but it'll have the actual invoice issued out to the customer for their payment of their internet plan. And you will be able to take that and soon check it against the government registry as well to verify that any tax that was required or anything like that was registered and paid for. Like, that's crazy. We're bringing not just, hey, it consumed data, but literally the real world documentation along with it that you can verify. Because the fun thing is, right now it's a little onerous to verify that real world thing because you have to log into the Indian government website and do all of that, but you can bet they'll automate that fairly soon and it'll be seamless. And that's crazy. The second thing is also like we're putting proper government registration data of the partner as well, so that if you see an LCO that is listed as a stakeholder on the Dabba network, you can also verify that they're an actual KYC proper registered entity and not just a dude who's like, yeah, I can do this and is running an ad hoc network. So I think that's worth highlighting. Okay, next one. Um, right, Hotspot owner NFT lifecycle. Okie dokie. So basically, this is the thing that happens when you're onboarding your hotspot. So the hotspot owner NFT gets minted with on-chain attributes that we discussed earlier. Basically, basic info about the hotspot owner. Nothing personally identifiable. Don't worry. And you will be able to now stake that to a given device, which is in a device NFT, which is in a given location. And in case you want to unstake it, you can also do that, and we can destroy it if required. So there are two sort of reasons for this structure. The first is if we put in the device data along with the hotspot owner NFT, this becomes an annoying thing to maintain consistency across what happens in the real world in the DB and in the NFT metadata. Like, say for example, the person who owns that device, that customer moves location, or that device churns for some reason, and the LCO takes that device and goes and installs it somewhere. Now, this requires us updating the metadata of the hotspot owner NFT, which is in your wallet and your holding, or maybe staked somewhere on a borrow lend platform or whatever it is, right? So we may not be able to access it. And generally in life, we don't want to muck about with an asset that you're holding. So the device NFT really just serves as an abstraction NFT separate layer that we can programmatically change attributes for, so that in the system it maintains consistency. Like, one of the other ways to think about this is the number of devices deployed will always match the number of device NFTs. And like, these two things being in sync really ripple everything else out on the network. So that's why we have this one sort of thing in place. Uh, all of these hotspot NFTs device NFTs um, are held by the foundation, I believe. Let me get back to you on that. But yeah, I think so. Or the LCO. I'll double check. Okay, next one. Right, wallet registry. Okay, so this is basically a really simple contract that has basically a lot of metadata on it that's easy for us to update. It's got a list of all the LCO partners, all the bandwidth providers, all the hardware manufacturers, all the hotspot owners, all the location owners, all the other NFT entries on the network. Basically, the registry is sort of the global index of everything. You can take any primitive from any other part of the network and verify that, yeah, on the registry, it says this primitive is actually what it says it is, right? You can verify its proof. So that's really its key role in the adventure. Okay, bandwidth contract. This is a really nice visualization of how a Merkle tree works. Basically, every single epoch, which is every single day, each one of these little boxes sort of represents a hotspot. And the sum of all of that, well, not the sum of, but a walk of all of the hashes across the network gives you one sort of final one that you can check and verify. The raw data of the file hash will always be saved on IPFS or Arweave because like failover one or the other so that it's permanently available and even that has a track at any given moment. We've also got a system in place pretty much everywhere that we could possibly put it, which is being able to pause things if required. And you'll see some of that a little bit later. Because at the beginning, 100% we're going to have things that we're going to learn while all of this goes on. I love that I just swiped back to the camera screen and everybody is looking at a different screen. But thanks so much. If you're listening to the audio, all good. Okay, onward. So now let's talk about this is like the core contract that really matters, right? Which is the Dabba Mint contract. This is what's creating the Dabba token, and this is what will continue to mint the daily Epoch tokens as well. So what happens is once we deploy said contract, it creates a state PDA and a mint PDA, and the basic metadata is created. We do a one-time mint, and then this ability is revoked of 4 billion tokens, as mentioned in the tokenomics. And again, remember all numbers here are slightly placeholder because there are slight adjustments that will come with tokenomics that we'll do really shortly. So we create a one-time pre-mint and then that gets put in the treasury and key stakeholders like investors and others you'll see like a structure built around stream flow and that sort of thing so that everything that's done in the pre-mint is also publicly visible and accessible. All right, then it also has a function for the uh, daily mint as well. So this is what gets emitted every single epoch. And in the tokenomics, you would have noted that there's a decay function. So even here in this, there's going to be a decay function as well. Uh, the final bit that's going to be there in the contract that you'll be able to see is once it hits a cap, uh, the mint authority is permanently revoked. So the contract will exist, but nothing will be mintable. Now, there are 4 roles that access this contract. The first is the admin role, and you can bet that we have many circuit breakers and multi-sig and that sort of thing everywhere here, because especially at the beginning, we're going to watch this like a hawk and have a step-by-step approach because that's just whatever. Being cautious is the best thing over here. We also have like config admin, which can update the treasury and other admins as well, the daily mint admin, and a burn admin as well, right? And there's going to be very key the ability to pause and unpause this. And all of these things are in the process of going through a security audit externally as well. So, of course, we're taking every safeguard we possibly can. Right. Next one. So the next contract is the staking program. This again talks about the architecture of said program and not the specific values within it. So the idea is basically there's a contract and you come to a front end that we'll provide you. It'll be in your dashboard, Explorer, etc. And you will set the tokens you want to stake. You set the lock-in period, and the contract updates rewards daily, or rather on an epoch basis. And after the lock-ins, the principal plus the rewards are returned. There are visible PDAs that you will be able to see that are the configs and the operators for said account. So you will also be able to see the global state of staking, which is total minted, total staked, how many stakers, whether the thing is paused or not in case of emergency. And on a per user level, of course, your stake is locked in a PDA and its attributes of what is the amount, start time, lock end, accumulated rewards, and which LCO it's staked towards. But that's one of the fun things that we have coming with staking later, which we'll talk about when we walk you through the front end of it at some point. All right, staking. Okay, one of the things that we've sort of taken into account is basically role separation at every level. There is no global master key of Dabba that anybody has or controls or account or wallet or anything like that that has global access to anything. Every single major area has a separate set of admins and guardians. Everything that can be multi-sigged has been multi-sigged. Every key that can be sharded has been sharded. And every circuit breaker that can be put in place has been put in place. So that's the sort of basic overview of this thing. And of course, the thing to note is we can't revert things, right? We can pause. So anything that's happened until that point will still be publicly available, accessible, verifiable, not editable, just paused for updates in the worst case sort of situation. Okay, the basic premise here is anyone can verify what's available. Just a quick core overview again of what's on chain. Merkle trees of bandwidth data, every single NFT plus its contract plus its abilities, the token mint amounts, and any transactions regarding burn or any other thing available. Complete wallet registry of all stakeholders. So we're not obfuscating which wallet holds what in any way, shape, or form. You'll be able to browse everything super clearly. It's not going to require complex programming for you to see that. Staking positions, lock periods, rewards, etc. You will be able to verify everything in a multiple set of ways and see analytics through a multiple set of sources. Shout out again to our uh, data that you are now able to see on Masari, and you'll see more places and more independent parties doing analysis on chain and dashboards as well. You can call verify device bandwidth on chain as well. You can request a Merkle tree proof, any PDA, everything's accessible. No APIs, no logins, no permissions. Everything is accessible. The reason to do all of this, which we should have done a year ago again, is by putting everything on chain, it will give us way more visibility and integratability into the crypto ecosystem. We've taken baby steps so far, and now you'll see way more integration as Dabbas, as DeFi collateral. We can serve as oracles. We can finally consume verifiable oracles from other place on chain analysis. And I've redacted one more cool integration thing that you'll see from us very, very soon before the TG for sure. So that's the broad picture. Every byte on chain, every contract auditable. That's our goal. And thank you everyone for listening to this presentation thus far. It is Q&A time, everybody, and we're open to all types of questions of any way, shape, or form. Um, as usual, there are certain questions we might take a little time to answer specifically, but we hear those questions and we know them. Uh, and yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Yeah, I think while Rumor and Dingus kind of scroll through and pick up the questions, just guys to kind of recap what this means and also moving forward. I think this is super important. Yes, that's a lot of information that Karan kind of went through. I think it's also very important to see how this kind of links to the project as a whole. A lot of the stuff that we've been talking across tokenomics in the project, a lot of those details, you can start seeing it pop up across, the different aspects of of the project right now. So super important information. But with this closes out on January and the recap of all chain details. Now for these details, if you guys want to check out these details yourself, this video will be uploaded to YouTube, so you can check it out soon. We will have the summary on the Gitbook as well, so you can check that out. Now, what comes next, and what can you guys expect in the coming weeks and the coming town halls? Is we will be getting more into tokenomics and new products. So we have some fun things that we will be talking to you guys about in the coming weeks. So make sure to keep an eye out for updates on upcoming town halls and the new stuff we're going to be talking about. So exciting times ahead. Everything is on track. And yeah, let's get to the questions. Rumor, Dingus, what do we have?
All right, so PS350, we got a question from him, which was the following. It was a multi-tiered question. So Burn, from the last town hall we had, he had some questions. Was burn as a percentage of revenue? What percentage is being proposed? Back of the envelope calculations indicate that anything less than 100% of revenue burnt would be less burn of DBT compared to the data burn at 0.012 cents per gigabyte. How does this change the way hotspots are rewarded? This is part two, non-UBI, I assume. It's going to be based on a share of revenue generated by each hotspot rather than data consumed. How do we make this change, part three, fair to hotspot owners who have selected onboarded hotspot, participated in city drops with the assumption that more data equals better rewards and had no information about revenue generated by each hotspot? So yeah, that's a pretty big question. But yeah, that's one we have here.
Shubs, you want me to take that, or you will do it?
I can run through the whole burn mechanism and then probably you can chip in. So the way the burn works over here is there is when we sign up a LCO partner on ground, so there is a basic amount of revenue that has to be shared, fiat revenue with them in order for them to run their operations. So the way it is structured is there is a 25% of supply that goes to the LCO partner in terms of DBT. So what is happening over here is the number of percentage of fiat revenue that has to be shared with them is given to them directly, and the token share of 25% that they own is taken from their wallet and sent to the burn wallet. So that's the mechanism how the burn is implemented. Now, if the price of the token is more than the total price of the token is more than what we are sharing the fiat revenue is, so only in proportionate number of tokens will be taken from the LCO partner, and remaining tokens will remain in the wallet. If the token value of the total token value, which is the 25% share of the LCO, is less than the percentage that we are sharing in terms of the fiat revenue with them, in that case, entirety of the token is taken, but still the 40% of ref share is given to them in order to make sure that they are able to run the network what they're required to on ground. So that's the core thesis behind token burn in terms of the revenue share. The same logic applies for bandwidth and the other partners as well.
Yeah, but I mean, the other thing I wanted to clarify is also when we say percentage of revenue, the thinking behind it is not percentage of revenue per hotspot, per owner of hotspot, or anything like that, right? The Dabba tokens will still be distributed by and large on a UBI basis to everybody on the network. We mean buying back and burning a percentage of total revenue. So let's say, for example, if total revenue is $100, and Shubs, correct me if I'm wrong on any of these examples. If the total revenue is $100, and we have to pay 40% of that to LCOs direct upfront because they need real hard cash for operations, and we take their tokens in return. A certain percentage of that remaining revenue will be used towards buyback and burn. And the goal behind this is not so much to maximize the amount of revenue that we are using for buyback and burn right now, but to establish that here's a reasonable starting percentage, and we're committed to doing that and growing that over time. Because given the recent developments of people doing buyback and burn across various protocols and in Deepin, it seems like depending on the stage of where you at, you may want to put all of the revenue that you have towards growth rather than buying the token back, because your goal is to give out as many tokens as possible to as many hotspot owners at the beginning, and not necessarily immediately at a nascent stage and size of the network to maximize all of that revenue towards burn, right? Like a simpler way to put it is you want to be able to burn, let's say, 10% of 10 million hotspots rather than burning 90% of revenue from 10,000 hotspots, right? Because the scale of the market is that big. So, tokens, the change in what percentage of revenue to buy back and burn doesn't affect the UBI basic distribution of the tokens. Yeah.
All right, all right. I appreciate you guys chiming in on those answers there. One last thing from PS350. He had questions on the foundation distribution and the lockup. So, what was the proposed lockup and unlock schedule for foundation tokens? And he said, I believe that there was a mention for token rewards. From deployed hotspots but not onboarded hotspots would go to the foundation for hotspot sale incentives. What does this incentive structure look like, if that makes sense?
So we've just explained the concept that we're doing it, not the specific numbers of it as of yet. And to explain what are the incentive structures, there's a whole bunch of really cool things you can do. So I'll give you two straight up examples. Example number one is those rewards that are for hotspots that are deployed and not onboarded can, for example, continue to accrue towards that given hotspot. And when someone comes and buys that hotspot, they get that instant amount of DBT additionally as well. Maybe locked over a certain time or whatever, but hey, when you buy it, you're getting DBT as well, right? So that's one really cool thing that you can do. The second really cool thing that you can do is basic stuff like we want to be able to reward super team members for a lot of the cool development work that they do for us and other things like that. Just like all community growth activities need a place for it to come from where it's in a healthy manner and actually contributes to the growth of the network and it's not just being dumped out of a treasury, right? So those two are examples of the kinds of incentives that we can use this foundation share of deployed but not onboarded hotspots.
Very good, very good. I see we have T-Craft 1962. Just wanted to know, is there any update on the Explorer rumor? I'm not sure if that's something that you wanted to touch on at all.
Rumor, can you hear? Or okay, yeah, Explorer, new one coming soon. No update on this particular call.
All right, all right. Moving on. Denver Bill. Let's see. He's pinning off of PS 350's bullet points. Would also like to discuss the position regarding the effectiveness of token burns in furthering the business. I think we already touched on this a little bit because we've already talked in even prior town halls about how maybe it's not most effective to just burn everything, and even we've seen Helium put some of this money towards building the business. So Denver Bill goes on to say, I recently watched the discussion on X, including either Karam or Don, he didn't recall, and some others discussing this issue, but honestly, I don't fully understand all of it. This way, we cannot only understand what they're doing with the burn, but also understand the why behind it. And I think this is something that's ongoing, and we're staying malleable with exactly what needs to go on. Because I remember maybe 2 town halls ago we were discussing how really we might need to take some notes from Helium in terms of using some of that revenue rather than just sending it up in flames.
Yeah, and I think like Deep and Pete just put in a really nice question which relates to this is I think so his question was, does the DBT token have any utility then? So I think one of the subtle points that may not have been highlighted as well during the community discussion of this, both in our community and in others, of because the original premise and promise of Deepin was the utility of the token is that in some sense it's a store of value because you're going to do buy and burn and accrue value to that token, and therefore at the heart of it the rate and the amount of buy and burn that you do is the primary driver of value, putting speculation aside. I think that's like the point that he's making. If you're lowering the amount of burn, then you by default you're lowering the amount of utility of the token. I think is the point that he's trying to make, and I think that is a really like great thing to highlight. But I think that that was the theory that everybody ran on in V1 business model of Deepin, right? And it proved that you're burning it, but that doesn't seem to be utility that the market is rewarding necessarily. And maybe in the first round of thinking, when everyone was sort of coalescing around deepen models, it seemed like a good way of doing things. So it is a component of one of the utilities, maybe not the primarily and mostest importantest utility at the beginning. Remember that if you take a slightly longer term view, which you have to in deepen, look at the rate that we're growing at, right? From 100,000 hotspots, our goal and our ability and our aim is to get to 1 million hotspots by the end of this year. Even a small percentage of burn of revenue at that point is a massive thing. So, you've just got to reset expectations of the timeline with which the effective utility of burn gets transferred into the token, as it were. So that's one. The second thing is there's going to be a whole slew of further utility to the end customer using DBT that is going to provide burn and buyback utility, as well to the community. So, for example, we haven't put out these numbers as yet, but we have a ton of people using OTT services from us as well. So like that's, TV channels and streaming, local news and Netflix and all of those packages combined. They'll be able to use DBT to purchase these different packages, gets discounts on these different packages, and other things along like that as well, right? Because you have to look at it as the central core broadband router and the payment of that connection and the earnings from it become the sort of piggy bank and wallet for the end user, A, to be able to trade, but B, to also be able to subsidize the other parts of their digital life. You should be able to use the DBT, for example, to eventually pay for your Netflix and your Gmail and all of the subscription things that you have in the long period of time. So more and more utility will come in. It's just that burn has been proven by the market to be de-emphasized from preeminent utility to a utility along with others. Yeah. So, Shubs, anything you want to add to that, or no?
No, I think that's fair.
Really great utilities there, just being able to purchase services, whether that's the streaming services, and we've even talked about in the future or in the past, potentially being able to actually purchase services using DBT. Yeah, I think seeing all these utilities come forward, as things unfurl, it's been really good here. So glad we touched on that. Let me keep digging in here and see what we got coming up next.
Oh wait, since we record the town halls, and since we're talking about utility, I'm gonna flip my screen and show the other side of this table for like a couple of seconds. And well, not giant, but hint of some really, really cool utility that will be coming to Dabba very, very soon. I don't know on this webcam how much you can see it, but I'm not gonna say any more. But if anyone happens to spot what that could possibly be, very cool. You're an awesome detective and you'll get an amazing prize. But we'll be announcing something very, very cool very, very shortly. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that.
All right. VAM007. I have a question related to the timeline of events leading to TGE. Like example, a new Explorer would be launched X weeks before TGE. I think we already discussed that. We got one coming out ASAP. Tokenomics will be made available X weeks or days before TGE. I guess, you want some very specific time frames here. C, Genesis Liquidity would be launched public X days before TGE. Centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges would be announced X days before TGE. And E, number 5, TGE date will be announced what's said here is TGE date will be announced X days before TGE. So yeah, this gentleman would like us to refine exactly when TGE is going to be. I don't think we have those exact answers here. But yeah, he ended it with any other milestone activities that were thought of. Please explain the timeline of those events, like in terms of weeks before TGE, in a way that is able to be understand in a way that will be able to understand the readiness to TGE.
Coming soon in X days, we will give you those commitments of. No, coming soon in Y days, we'll give you what the values of X are very soon.
I'm just happy I don't have to decipher these questions.
For Z reasons.
I'm so happy we have community managers.
No, I mean, to be fair, yeah, it's a very fair question.
Yeah.
I appreciate the technical structure of it. So the answer is the upper bound is the last date of Q1 2026. And we're tending towards that asymptote one way or the other.
And honestly, what I've been telling is people should just tune into everything, because rumor may or may have not dropped in a public forum. Some like, hey, here's when I'm expecting it. And so that's why I'm saying tap in. Everybody just tap into all these things when we're getting together and chatting, you'll find out the most information that way. So yeah, obviously we can't really throw a day down quite yet, but coming soon to a Y near you. All right, just taking a peek through here, seeing if there's anything else unquestioned in the Town Hall AMA in the comments section, and I will get back to y'all.
Nice. Rumor, any
In addition to that, Jay asks, like, are there any partnerships you guys are working on which we haven't heard of? Exploring a world mini map, for instance. Like,
mini app
what have you been cooking that we don't know yet? Share some alpha.
soon to come? Like I
We
said
did. There's
earlier.
a screen picture shot posted in chat. You can, if you look hard enough and you've got your ears to the ground, you should be able to guess.
Here's one thing I know I've just heard people talking about. We don't have a direct question on it, but would there be? Do you guys have plans for like a front-facing app for the Hotspot owners? Because I know right now you have the Dabba app for the Hotspot users, for people who are already connected to the network. Do you have plans for a front-facing app for the other end of things?
So yes, there's a front-facing app for end customers, and the front-facing app for hotspot owners will be coming very soon before TGE, for sure.
Awesome, looking forward to it.
Scrolling up, Bug Up asked, since burn is a percentage of revenue made by Dabba, any value offers like revenue from bandwidth peering or laser backhaul that we have that we should look out for?
Well, I totally missed that. I was staring at Buckup's chat message with the thing. I'm gonna say, if we're playing Marco Polo cold, dude, that's one of the 5 billion test units. I'll show you a stack of white color routers somewhere. Yeah, sorry, Rumor, repeat that one.
Yeah, the question was since burn is a percentage of revenue, any value offers from bandwidth peering, laser backhauls, anything that's the team is working on to increase burn over time from other solutions.
Those will be rolled out one by one. Yeah, for sure. There are plenty of things that are going to add towards burn, whether it's savings here and there or extra services being charged for in different ways, and actual utility also for cool services that can be consumed that we will independently offer as well. For sure. You'll see them rolling out one by one.
Also, Buck Up did make mention of the following. Do LCOs have the option in the future to keep DBT, essentially get paid in DBT, as opposed to receiving fiat at all in currency?
Yes, they can do that. Today also they do that if they want to. So they have that option.
Very nice. Very nice.
Awesome. So I think that is pretty much it for the questions that we have from the session. Um, yeah. So surprisingly, we are finishing a town hall within an hour. I think that's a first for sure.
Efficiency. Thank you very much.
But yes, everyone who joined in, thanks a bunch for joining in. Again, if you missed it, there will be a recording. There will be a very short summary on the Discord and a more elaborate summary on the Gitbook as well. So yes, make sure to catch that. Like I said earlier, upcoming town halls, we're going to keep up with the cadence of these town halls, make sure that we have them more often. We're aiming for at least once every week or once every other week. The upcoming town halls will focus on new products and the different tokenomic ideas that we talked about. So keep an eye out for updates on that. We will make sure to get into detail. As always, if you have a question that was not asked over here, ask it on the Discord. You can raise a ticket, you can book a call with us, and we will stop talking down. It'll take over 1 hour. Fine. But yes, if you have questions, make sure to keep asking them. Ankur is noting everyone's questions and ideas as well, so make sure you keep putting them out there. And yeah, thanks everyone for joining in. We'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day, stay safe, stay happy, and we'll see you guys later. Bye bye.